respond either.
Yeah.
Well, Sonny never answers his emails. He said last time he had 137 of them, but he didn't answer
Let me see that.
and done it.
Listen, if I had 137 emails, that's only
I'm about 20 pounds lighter, and I gotta tell you, I look much better.
You don't look bad in that one.
Oh,
Good evening, Ross.
How you doing, Dick? Good.
You got a full crew?
we do.
Holy cow.
And it's 7
We got about 25 seconds. We're going to start this.
All right.
Yippee-ki-yay.
I
Yeehaw.
never got the email.
Hello, Jackie.
Free range.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, very good.
Good.
It's voice fishing.
What district are you in? 6. 5.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Grand Traverse County Public Health and Safety Committee, August 1st, 2012. We'll call this meeting to order. We'll start with the opening ceremonies. Rise to the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jackie, will you call the roll, please?
Sure. Commissioner Fleece?
Present.
Gilman?
Yeah.
Hetchel?
Yes.
Inman?
Here.
Lemcool?
Here.
Max Bauer?
Present.
Richardson?
Here.
Thomas?
Here.
Chairman Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am. The next order of business will be the approval of the minutes. You will note on your desk is a revised copy. When we got the copy that's in your packet, we adjourned at 9:20 a.m. instead of 9:20 p.m. Someone has too much time on their hands. They were able to find that. So, I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved. Support.
We have a motion. We have a second, and then we'll just have discussion.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to point out in a public comment that Heidi Sheppy's name is spelled wrong, so if somebody could correct that, that would be great.
Oops. We make those two notations. Any other changes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. This brings us to the first opportunity for public comment. We have two opportunities for public comment in this agenda, one now, one toward the end of the meeting. We will also take public comment during the course of the business as we conduct it. Is there anyone wishing to make public comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll move along. Approval of the agenda. The only thing that I would add, if anyone else has anything else too, on your desk, I had Chris and Danny provide you with copies of the progress reports on the Health Department building.
Get in.
There should be one on everybody's desk. The superintendent on the job site writes a written report every single day, and that's forwarded to Danny. Usually it includes pictures, and I know a couple commissioners have asked about the progress on that building, so I just asked that those be forwarded to tonight's meeting too. I'll put that under unfinished business in case anyone has any questions. Dean may be able to answer the questions because he's a lot smarter at it than I am, but if not, we can certainly get you the answers before next week if you have specific questions. So with everyone's permission, I'd like to add that under unfinished business. Ross?
Move for approval of the agenda with the addition of the progress report under the Health Department.
Okay, you've heard the agenda, the motion by Richardson, second by Fleece. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. We have no special order of business this evening, so that brings us to the consent calendar. If you will, please, Jackie.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval is approved by a single committee action adopting the consent calendar. A. Receive and file. 1. Community Corrections Monthly Report for June. 2. Commission on Aging Report. 3. Veteran Services Monthly Report for June. 4. Central Dispatch Advertisement regarding Grand Traverse County Final 911 Service Plan. B. Approval. 1. Community Corrections Contract Renewals for 2012. 2. Grand Traverse Sheriff's Office items to be declared surplus. 3. Grand Traverse Sheriff's Office property room surplus request. 4. Health Department renewal of lease agreement for Kingsley Adolescent Health Clinic. 5. Fiscal year 2011-2012 Michigan Department of Community Health Comprehensive Planning, Budgeting, and Contracting Agreement Amendment Number 2. 6. Fiscal year 2011-2012 Michigan Department of Community Health Comprehensive Planning, Budgeting, and Contracting Agreement Amendment Number 4.
Having heard the consent calendar, is there any item that any member of the public wishes to have removed?
I would just, do I have to come up there?
Well, you just tell me which one and then
I don't
we'll
want to remove, but it's not advertisement, it's just advisement.
advise.
The advertising part will come later, so this is just the advisement part.
Okay?
Thank you.
So
It says that, she just read it different.
Okay. So
It's printed correctly here.
Yeah.
Oh.
I never know what I put in spell check, doesn't always.
I'm sorry, that was my fault. I'm sorry about that.
We received a number of notes from you and they're rarely spelled correctly, so don't.
I have you check them for me.
That'll do it. All right, are there any items that the members of the commission wish to have removed? Herb?
Motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Motion by Limcool, supported by Henschel.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gilman,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Inman,
Yes.
Lemkool,
Yes.
Max Bauer,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Fleece,
Yes.
Chairman Wheelock.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, that brings us, we have no removed items. That brings us to department action items. First is Commission on Aging. The fee increases proposed for 2013. Georgia?
Thanks, Jerry.
Georgia Durga, Grand Traverse County Commission on Aging Director, and I have with me Michelle Mercer, Commission on Aging Board Member. We are bringing back the sliding fee scale, which we amended at the county board's request at our special meeting, we did decrease the fees using about $160,000 of our fund balance. So we're asking for approval of the amended fee scale, which I'm not really even sure we had to do because it was already approved, but I just wanted to let you know that we did reduce our fees and with the use of our fund balance for 2013.
Chris?
I will move that the county board approve the revised fee increase for Commission on Aging for the year 2013. And I would like to add that the reason this is coming back to the Board of Commissioners is the Commission on Aging Board is trying very hard to keep the county board well-informed as to what we are doing as a board. And this is...
I'll support it.
Okay, I have a motion by Max Barr, supported by Richardson. Further discussion? Boss?
I would just like to say thank you to you, Georgia, and the board for bringing down the fee increases some. And I understand that with the revenue situation you were in, you had to raise them, but I'm very happy to see they're not quite as big as what was first proposed. So.
We did also make some more cuts in our budget too, so we weren't able to we didn't use as much fund balance as we thought we might have to, so.
Jason?
As one of those that concurred with the original and then the spirit of it, I think you guys followed through with it absolutely excellently. And I think you did a great job, so.
Thank you.
I think each of us appreciates the action of the Commission on Aging Board because we were all pretty shocked by the size of the expense of the increase. So we have a motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia.
This brings us to administration.
The first item is the proposed resolution approving an agreement with the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians. Dave Benda put this together. I have reviewed it. I know that he discussed it with
Sonny and I.
two of you, and I didn't know if you wanted to run with it,
Do
Sonny.
you want to start?
Yeah, I just had a conversation with the administrator
Page
and
52.
Commissioner Wheelock
It's page 52.
regarding the issue of the status of the tribal request for the lands and trust, and that we had a previous resolution that we had passed in '08 that wasn't acted upon by the tribe, and then since then they had a number of turnovers in their tribal board. And actually it was the Administrator Dave Benda that came up with what I thought was a great strategy move, given that they're in the process of trying to put lands in trust, that we should reaffirm the resolution of 2008, and it would be in compliance with the same resolution that Acme Township had approved, and reapprove that again and send it to the tribe for their confirmation on the resolution. And that is that, whatever capital improvements they place on the land, that would be the amount that would be assessed, not the land itself, is the previous discussion we had with the tribe. So, any event, we thought it was timely, given their application in the public input process, that we've asked for a 30-day extension, that we bring this back to the board. Obviously, we have new board members as well as the tribal board since 2008. So we thought, number one, it would be a good refresher on our part. Number two, it was timely and strategic that, it sort of made sense to us that to bring this back to this committee and get a reaffirmation vote on the original resolution and send it to the tribe and ask them to consent to it. I don't know if you have anything else?
Well, I guess
on that?
the comments that I'd make, and I know that all of you have heard me say repeatedly, that during the time that I was chairman in 2007, 2008, we were close to a payment in lieu of taxes. This is where we were at. This is a agreement that basically says that they will pay if they develop that trust land. Now, I don't care on behalf of, at least for my purpose, as far as from Grand Traverse County, whether they pay that from 2% money or where they pay it from, but I believe that all of the taxing entities need to be made whole. That's what this agreement does. And at the time, back in June, I believe it was June of 2008, our county board approved that at Ways and Means and forwarded to their tribal council, who never took action on it. So, during this whole process with the discussion about the 2% money, whether it was being used properly or not, earlier this year, I told you that we, repeatedly, that we should be getting the payment in lieu of taxes. That's what the 2% money is supposed to be for. And when we actually pulled this out, as you know, they've applied for another 170 acres.
I think it's 158 or something.
158 acres to be added to the trust. And, we've asked for a 30-day extension. We may or may not get that. So what I'm going to suggest is that we take formal board action tonight, not just committee action, to approve or reaffirm this resolution and forward that immediately to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, because I believe they should have that in their hand as they consider whether or not they give us an extension to have further discussion, or make sure they have it in their hand that this is our position in regard to your putting additional land of Grand Traverse County land into trust.
And also, we're sending it to the tribe.
Send it to the tribe
We're
and
copying
to the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
Copying the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
Okay. Jason?
What's the status of the resort right now? I mean, they're just paying taxes
Yes.
normally?
As of right now, they're paying taxes.
And
Okay.
their issue right now is they can't put it into trust because right now, there are rules regarding placing lands in trust that are adjacent to tribal
Correct.
lands and not adjacent to tribal lands. This particular issue with the tribe on the resort is there is one parcel of land that separates the land they own next to the casino. The casino, then they acquired additional property, and there's one piece of property that's not acquired yet that would adjoin the resort. So at least they have represented at this point that they're going to keep paying property taxes, not apply to have the Grand Traverse Resort placed in trust. But that is the decision of that particular tribal board. Another tribal board, however, could make a decision and go in a different direction.
But theoretically, placing this other land into trust and then having these lands adjacent to each other, you could theoretically have a path
Sure.
right up to the resort.
There is a very high likelihood, at least in my opinion, that there will be a time that from Turtle Creek Casino to the Grand Traverse Resort will all be tribal land in trust, and they will not have to pay tax on it. I believe they're going to work toward getting there. The question is, if we can get something like this in place, we don't care, because the taxing entities will be made whole. Herb?
There is a group, I think you and Larry are supposed to be the liaisons to the tribe, and I'm wondering if...
Gilman.
It's Larry and Jason.
Larry and Jason.
Yeah.
And, I'm concerned that we are doing this without having that sit-down meeting with them before you do that. I think that, a conversation with the tribal chairman, letting them know that this is coming, rather than just throwing it out there and letting it happen. I think it's important that we have that kind of communications. We've asked for that for other organizations to give us communications. We need to continue following that and make sure we communicate with organizations before we send a letter.
Okay.
I believe that's already happened. Larry can speak to that.
At least I've talked with their attorney. Al has asked me to speak with their attorney, and Mr. Rastatter, and he is aware of our ongoing issue with this, as well as Acme's interest in getting something this completed. And he indicated to me with the discussion of the 2% money and the whole issue of what's allowable, what's not allowable, that he was going to recommend to the tribal board to adopt this resolution. Now, what we could do is we could just send this to the full board and then give us time between now and the full board to have another discussion with the tribe, just as a courtesy, and then adopt it at the end of the month, because I don't think, a matter of a week or 10 days, 2 weeks is going to make any difference.
Well,
In the
you're a whole
application.
month, you're a month away. So,
Yeah.
I just think that
even if we give it a week before we give it, and you guys have a chance to be able to sit down with the chairman, I think it's really important that you do that
I don't disagree.
before they receive this letter.
I
We
don't
were
disagree.
going to, but they canceled on us.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
But I just think a phone call to let them know that we
Yeah.
have reaffirmed this, and the letter is on its way, so that they're not blindsided by it.
Yeah, either we ratify tonight, or we can approve it and send it to the board.
Yeah, I don't have a problem ratifying it tonight.
Okay.
I just want it, before it goes out, you have your meeting.
All right.
Chris?
I have a question for Dean. If we are asking for a 30-day extension, and you feel, Dean, that this resolution passed by the board would have an impact on receiving that 30-day extension, then I think that we need to pass it as a board tonight.
Okay.
And trust the fact that the tribal council are reasonable human beings and understand our position.
Okay.
Dean?
I believe that is why Dave put this together. And also, the last paragraph, which is on page 64, does close with requests a meeting to discuss the development. That is the intent. I think it is prudent that this resolution be passed tonight, if at all possible, and then Dave will carry out the other action that's mentioned here.
Well, and I think the thing about this is this, they've changed personnel significantly. And I think by us reaffirming this and getting it back out to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, number one, it makes it more likely that we're going to actually get the 30-day extension. Because the statements that I've seen that the tribe has made to the Bureau of Indian Affairs is that they're talking with Grand Traverse County. And they're talking with Acme Township. I haven't been in very many of those meetings where we're talking in the last 4 years. So, we need to reaffirm that, I believe. Larry?
I would make a motion that we ratify this as a full board, the resolution you're packing on page 63,
63 and 64.
along with the attachment on page 65, that we reaffirm the resolution, we reaffirm the conceptual understanding, proposed agreement between Grand Traverse Band of Chippewa and the Indians and Grand Traverse County and Acme Township for approval.
I'll support.
You have a motion by Inman, supported by Maxbar. The only thing that I would mention is if we note that we are reaffirming this because the deadline date to have this agreement in place was December 31st, 2008.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're just reaffirming it.
Is there any further discussion?
This is a motion of this committee or the full board?
Full board.
Can we
this
do that?
committee.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's committee action for,
Yes,
Yeah, the committee can do a ratification of full board.
it doesn't go to the full board for
we
approval.
can.
Better show me the rules.
No, it's in our board rules.
Done that before.
We've done it before. Mr. Cooney's told us repeatedly it can be done.
Yep.
Because this is a resolution, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote just so as that we can show that it's ayes and nays. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Henschel?
Yeah.
Inman?
Yes.
Lemkool?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Fleece?
Yes.
Gilman?
Yes.
Chairman Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am. So
We'll get that.
we will get that
Going
forwarded
out.
to the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the
then
Grand
on my
Traverse
list tomorrow.
County as soon as possible.
And I hope you make that phone call.
We will.
Okay.
I'll call and send a letter.
Thank you.
Well, I talked to Bill a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago probably, and, let him know that I was going to push for this.
Okay, good.
this
And I'll also
agreement,
call
so
Mr.
I'm
Rathsader
sure
as
you'll
well.
find him. Okay.
Give them the whole damn.
That brings us to unfinished business. Just that I had the progress reports by the job superintendent on your desk. Did anyone have any questions or, Chris?
Do we have an estimated date of completion?
Yes, what about that?
It's in the fall
Dean,
sometime.
we're probably looking, what, October?
Progress is actually on schedule. They were initially planning that we would be in October, but, things can change along the
Oh,
way.
yes. I understand that.
I go to most of the building authority meetings, and all I can say is we are on schedule.
Okay.
It will take some time to move,
Of course.
and, we're already talking to a mover, but it's going to be October.
All right.
More likely it will be November, but we're on
Okay.
schedule.
Great.
Bob?
Is the current health department now listed for sale?
Yes, it is. We're working with Dan, is it Stiebel?
Stiebel, yeah.
Stiebel with Caldwell Banker. Dave and I are getting weekly updates, and we have had some interest, but it has not been sold yet, so.
What did you say? You're working with Caldwell?
Caldwell Banker.
Yes.
Yes.
Did we put that out for bids?
Yes, we
Yes.
did.
Yeah, we
Yep.
approved that last month.
Mr. Schmuckel didn't respond, Larry.
I must have been gone.
He didn't respond to the bid, so.
We had updated the board last month. We bid it out, and Dave has the authority per the purchasing policy to make that, award that work, and we have done that.
Any further, Herb?
Yeah, my only concern on this whole thing is watching the health department going by there and seeing the roof still not being put on there. I guess it takes an awful lot to put a steel roof up, but,
Standing roof take a while.
we've been working continuously now for almost 6 months trying to get that roof on, and everything's been ready for it, and I guess that's, I'm probably one of the biggest questioners on why that's taken so long.
That is a valid concern, but the roof has been covered from the weather it's an ice and water shield membrane, so there has been no structural damage as a result.
Yeah.
The steel initially that arrived at the site was not the right type, and that took some time to get the right product there, but it's getting covered.
They had some truss issues early, and then
Yeah.
they got that taken care of, and then they had some problems with the wrong roofing material, and one thing after the other.
I appreciate the update.
Thank you. Is there any new business to come before this board? Second opportunity for public comment? Seeing none. Commissioner reports? Larry?
I'd like to thank Commissioner Maxbauer for reminding me regarding the discussion that the board had with administration regarding getting out the previous grid that was put together by administration for our previous budget process. It was there's a couple things I need to advise you on. First one is that where was it? Because, obviously, Katie wasn't there and Dennis is not there, so staff had to, go through just every file, every computer, every box.
God, they couldn't have called Katie? I mean, she's downstairs.
Well, I'm sure they did. And then I asked them to check with Dean, and then I got a call a day or so later and found out that John Syke had the grid, and that I asked John to send that out, and John advised me that he had a concern about sending it out without going through it briefly, because he said that there were a number of points within the grid that he felt were not applicable, that we had resolved or did something different with in the previous budget cycle. So he felt that when Dave gets back on Monday, and then he's also on vacation too, John Sykes also on vacation this week, then on Monday that I would visit with the both of them, go over the grid. Anybody's welcome to join me if you'd like, and get the input from John and Dave about what's applicable and what's not applicable still in the grid, and then get that out to everyone, and then we will get your measurements done. So I just wanted to report where that was at.
Others? Herb?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks to Tom Buss. He came in and made a nice presentation to our SCORE group this morning, talking about the cottage law. If you have any questions about the cottage law, Tom is a great resource, and he's got a couple of websites that he pulls that information off. So anybody in the general public that has information or would like to have information about that. But also, he gives on a quarterly basis a training for health department people that are going to work in restaurants, that you have to have that training and that certification. It's a full-day training with a test afterwards, and very, very beneficial. My son went through that, and his comment was after he got done with it, that he's surprised he hadn't killed somebody before, because you learn so much about preparation of food and handling and all that kind of
And
stuff.
where is
I'm
he
sure-
working?
I'm sure, well, this was before, but I'm sure Ross has been through some of that stuff through his restaurants, but it's very important that we, the people, know enough about what the laws are and everything else and how it's supposed to be done. You know, Sonny just found out that through the health department that we couldn't do a pig for the wellness barbecue because we're not certified. So we're going to try and do some thinking. I think you're probably going to make that announcement, Sonny. So we've got a great health department. They're very knowledgeable, and they're a great resource for people to be able to ask questions about what they need to know. I just want to say thanks to Tom.
I'm most likely going to ask the board to put on the 15th, when we meet a closed session, to get an update from Chris Cook on the current status of the Jetter case, and with the number of motions going back and forth between councils and the judge and everything. I think it's important for the board to, as we get closer to the pretrial and the potential trial date, that they be aware of everything that's going on. So in terms of strategy and an update from our attorney. So just want to give you a notice that most likely I most likely will put that on the agenda for the 15th.
Too bad it wasn't for tonight. We'd be out of here early.
Yeah, I know. So I just want to give you a heads up on that.
Chris?
I'm the Parks and Rec representative to T-Base, and I wanted to report that their recent soccer tournament that they had in May, I believe it was extremely successful. And they did an economic impact study, which I have not seen yet, but was talked about Tuesday night at their board meeting in conjunction, in cooperation with the Traverse City Chamber of Commerce. And the only negative comments that they received from, and I'm just saying this in case Sheriff Bensley's watching, the only negative comments they received about their tournament was traffic control. It was apparently pretty bad for several hours, just a short period of time. And they said, ideally, we'd like a new road. And I said, I don't think that the county board's going to step up and build you a new road by your September, we were joking, please understand we were joking, by your September tournaments. But I will speak to Sheriff Bensley about asking for a deputy for your September 15th tournament in the morning hours, because that's when the difficult time is, from about 8 until 10:30. So, Sheriff Bensley, you're going to be getting a call.
I came through there probably about 9:30 last Sunday morning. They had a large lacrosse tournament there.
Yes.
There were charter buses and traffic trying to make a left-hand turn into that facility. They were backed up through the light at Brimley and almost to the bottom of Hammond Road, trying to make a left-hand turn into that facility.
We need some help out there when these tournaments
But, at the same
happen.
time, we've all been through the discussion with the railroad and everybody else about accesses into that facility.
I know, but
There's not going to be another road
the
in
T-Base board has some suggestions on how to direct traffic during the real heavy periods.
We can, the sheriff can deal with that, but, they do have a congestion issue.
I will call him.
But it's a very short time, and
Oh,
it's
yes.
certainly not every day.
Yes.
Okay. Any others? All right, Rob?
Yeah, as your representative to Northern Lakes Community Mental Health, I chair the Nominating Leadership Development Committee over there, which is the committee that interviews and nominates people for various boards and committees. And right now, we are looking for someone. We have a vacancy on the Recipients' Rights Committee. So if anybody watching at home is a current recipient of services from Northern Lakes Community Mental Health and might be interested in serving on the Recipients' Rights Committee, please contact the main office at Northern Lakes Community Mental Health.
Anything else?
Just an announcement when we get there.
Okay, just a brief comment. Herb mentioned earlier, he talked last week about the fact that I was going to roast a pig for the pig roast for the wellness dinner. when I first approached the Wellness Committee with this, basically a year ago, my suggestion was, Grand Traverse County has made a commitment to MSU Extension and the 4-H program. My original proposal was that we talk about going to the fair, purchasing a Grand Traverse County Child's project, and roast that for the wellness luncheon. When they put together the program for this year, they didn't have budget to do that, so they talked to me about a much smaller number. I can do the pig roast with that smaller number by using a locally grown hog that I purchased from a farmer that I've done for this summer. So, I buy pigs from him regularly. On Monday, I received a call from Tom Buss at the Health Department that said two things. Number one, the pig has to be processed in a USDA-approved facility.
What?
The pig farmer that I poach pigs from, his tractor
We
is not
roasted pigs at
USDA.
Shell all the time and never had a problem.
That was in Calcassa County.
The pig is not accepted, or his tractor is not USDA approved that holds it up while he butchers it apparently. But the other thing is, even in the past where we've done grilling, as far as Tom is concerned, we need a temporary food establishment ordinance. Or operations need a temporary permit for that one day that we're going to provide food. There's a 6-page...
Do we get that permit from the county?
We get this permit from Grand Traverse County, from the Health Department. Jen and I have worked on the application. The application has been submitted. Environmental Health is going to waive the fee for us to have it, but we will in fact have a temporary food establishment.
Well, how much is the
license.
fee?
I don't know.
Because I don't think they should waive it. If they don't waive it for anybody else, they shouldn't waive it for us.
We can talk about that. There's 6 pages of requirements that we have to comply with to get this temporary permit. I have them here if you're welcome to see them.
You know you were supposed to give us...
But any way around it, even when in the years past when we're standing out in the gravel area outside grilling hamburgers or brats, probably...
We've been in violation of the law?
We're probably in violation of the food ordinance, so...
Well, Commissioner Thomas is usually the one that's been doing the grilling, so...
How many people has the board killed since we've been doing this?
And
73.
I wasn't even going to get into that discussion, but what I did do is, we've promoted this thing as a pig roast and for the Wellness Committee, so I went to sources that I know.
We could do veggie
and
wraps.
others, and made arrangements, or have given Jen a list of places where we can buy the pulled pork, all processed. All we've got to do is put it in a couple Nesco roasters and keep it hot and make sure we're up to temperature.
I have a
before we
roaster if you need it.
I've got 2 roasters if you need.
So we're gonna deal with it that way. Maybe if we choose to do the pig roast thing, the actual
Nesco.
roasting the pig in the future, we can take time to start to look at what we'd have to do that. But on 2 weeks' notice, I just didn't think it was worth the effort. Larry?
Well, this is contrary to the discussion that I had with the Health Department regarding a customer complaint, and it was a certain bank in Traverse City that held a picnic not only for their staff members, but for their customers. And it was explained very articulately to me that since they were serving food to the general public and not just their staff members, that was the distinction, that they were required to go through the permitting process and have staff go over, look at the location, make sure everything was to their specifications in terms of cleanliness, how they handled their food, and all this other stuff. And if they just kept it solely for the staff members within their own company, that a permit was not issued, was not required. Now, this is totally different than what they explained to me last year. I mean, I think we need to have another discussion with them, and I'd be glad to do it.
Well, I mean, other companies do this, and
Sure.
everybody should...
Every company has a barbecue.
This is not your fault, Sonny, I know, I'm not...
I understand, and, at this point, because of the short term, it just wasn't.
I
Well, the
understand.
pig isn't gonna work, but, you know, still.
But we're gonna we'll do the barbecue, we'll still have the
Yeah.
roast pork, we'll deal with it that way. But, you know, we can have a future discussion, you know, I know of other organizations that have done it, and
That's
the discussion's
crazy.
been whether they were charging a fee for the meal. If they weren't charging a fee for the meal, they didn't have to have the permit. But, you know.
This is a
additional discussion we
closed
can have.
event, not open to the
We
public.
can have additional discussion at some point.
I think we need
between
to.
now and next year, but at this point, we're going to be
It'll be tomorrow.
Yeah.
purchasing, we're going to be purchasing pulled pork.
Well, if you
from
need
a
my
processed
roaster, let me
facility, and
know.
We'll go from
No.
there.
I've got 2 of them also, if you need mine, so let me know.
We'll figure it
I've got
out.
2 big ones.
Well, I'll be following up on this.
Okay. Is there any other announcements? Jason?
Just that you were supposed to issue an irony alert before talking about that.
Yeah.
No, each month, as I said, and maybe a couple times a month, I want to remind people that on September 16th, we do have the Constitution celebration out at the Williamsburg Dinner Theater. You'll see the advertising ramp up for it. I'd like to also remind folks who have teenage kids, nieces, nephews, friends, what have you, that there is the Michigan Constitutional Scholarship Competition is still lacking some entries, and these are for cash prizes, and it's good money, so I'm not going to say how much it is, but they can find that at the tcpatriotstore.com. They can find the rules and how to enter.
Are there age limits?
It's also, there is an age limit, I believe.
Because I have a niece in college.
Well, she might be a little bit old, actually.
All right.
18.
Yeah, high school students, but.
Okay.
But in any event, so it'd be a good opportunity for someone who is looking to raise a little extra cash before school starts up. It's a good way to do it, to get into the contest, and if they're selected, of course, then they'll be presented with their prize during the competition on the 16th.
Any further announcements? No need for closed session. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Whoa.
Gone.
Aye.
Meeting we've had.
Thank you very much.
Looks like I'm gonna